On number 13 here, we're given this, expression, and we want to know what it's equivalent to. And there's two things here that signal that we need to do long division. First of all, you see that in each of the answer choices, there's a sort of fraction type thing at the end with something on top and this denominator on the bottom. So that's usually some hint that that's a remainder, and that usually comes from long division. Another hint is just that, well, when you're trying to simplify a fraction like this normally, your first instinct might be to maybe factor the top to see if anything cancels, but you'll notice that you either can't factor the top, or if you can, then nothing cancels in this case. So we're going to have to go ahead and do long division. So how do we do that? Well, let's set it up. This is going to be polynomial long division. So let's just go over here maybe. Okay, let's do this like this. We're dividing x squared minus 2x minus 5 by x minus 3. Now, how do we do polynomial long division? It's not terribly, commonly used, so you might be a little rusty on it. Well, we look at the term with the highest degree on the outside. So basically the x term, if there is an x, with the highest exponent, and that's just this one. And we look at the highest degree term on the inside, which is this one. And you start off just by saying, okay, how many times does this highest term go into this highest term? That's going to be, in this case, x, since x times x is x squared. So x goes into x squared x times. Alternatively, x squared divided by x is just x. So we put x right here. I'm putting it right here because I'm putting it sort of above this column with just the x to the 1 power. And then how do we proceed? It's very similar to like normal long division, if you even remember, I guess, how to do that. Sure, you're used to doing stuff on the calculator or in your head at this point. So now you take this and you multiply it through the thing that you're dividing by. So x times x is x squared. We put it right here. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. And don't forget that when we're doing this division, once we may take the step, we now have to subtract this. So you put a little negative sign there, which basically means that you're doing minus x squared and then plus 3x, since negative makes a positive. So what is that going to be? So we have x squared minus x squared, so that's just 0, so it's nothing here. And negative 2x minus negative 3x. So that means negative 2 plus 3x, which is just x. Okay. Now we're continuing, and after we finish this, we can actually drop down this next term, so to make that x minus 5. So now we repeat the process that we did before. We look at the highest power here, and we look at the highest power here, and we say, okay, how many times does this highest power go into this highest sort of power term? In this case, it's just 1, because x divided by x is just 1. So, or alternatively, 1 times x is going to be x. That's the only way you can get it. So we do plus 1. And we do the same thing we did before. So we take just this term that we added and we multiply it through. So 1 times x is just x. 1 times negative 3 is just negative 3. And now, don't forget, you need to make this negative. You're going to be subtracting it from this. So now it's x minus x dash is 0. And negative 5 minus negative 3. So negative 5 plus 3, which is just negative 2. And here we've reached a point where this power is now lower than this one, because basically here we have an x to the 1. Here we don't have an x at all. You can think of it as x to the 0, so it's just a 1 somewhere. So there's no x here, but there is 1 here. And what that basically means is that we move into a remainder. And this is how we express remainders. So we have this portion that we've gotten so far, so that's at least part of the answer. That'll be, let me write it over here. That'll be x plus 1. And now this is a part of the remainder, and we express the remainder by just taking whatever you have left over here and putting it over what you're dividing by. So in this case, that means you just take this negative 2, so let's just do minus 2 over whatever you're dividing by, so over x minus 3. And that is answer choice D. So I'm just going to quickly recap how we do this long division. We set it up this way. Every time we just look at the highest power and we decide how many times this outside highest power goes into the inside highest power. So in this case, it's like x times x is going to be x squared. So we do x, and then we just multiply it back through and subtract what we get. So we multiplied it back through, subtract what we got, again, just like normal long division. And you just keep repeating that process until you get down to either no remainder at all, or as even the answer choices suggest, that there's going to be a remainder. And that's when you get basically something with no x when you have an x here. Or for example, if this was something like x squared and here you got negative 2x, this is a lower power than this, so that's already going to be a remainder. So even if there's still an x here, if the x has a higher power out here, that means you can't continue. So this, if this was what you're left with, then your remainder would be negative 2x over x squared minus 3.